Yeah, it is an episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. 81 days away from the start
We are
of
Tim
the
Brown
Raiders
away.
season. What a great way to start. I was like, all right, when should we start with the countdown, right? I feel like any sort of triple digits is too much. 100 is like, okay. I like it being way ahead of time because it's never too early to get excited. Plus, that's when you count. That's when, like, you really feel the countdown when the NFL season, like, builds up, right? It's like free agency ends, OTAs kick in, preseason, blah, 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 blah. In 81, we're starting with Tim Brown. Great way to start.
Perfect. And it's like big chunks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So before you know it, we're going to be in the 40s. Before you know it's going to be like, 15, it's like,
yeah,
it gets there quick, man. It gets there fast.
Because it's almost like, because we do this big show once a week, right? We do clips and lives and all that kind of, but like the big podcast, it's just Thursdays we get it, right? Just Thursdays and post-game shows. That's all we do. And so you knock off 7 off that number every time. And it's just like,
away at
shit, 74. We're already at 74. And then it's down even more like, we're already at 67. Proud of my math right there, off the top of my head.
Jeez, this freaking guy.
Well, I'm getting wiser and older in my old age. First off, thank you everybody who sent me birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Turned 40 last week. Spent time in Kernville, my favorite place in the world. Thank you so much, everybody, for the birthday wishes. But the big news is this motherfucker. This birthday present that I got. See if it can fit.
Hat on.
I know. I think I was debating not doing the headset and just doing the free mic. No, not working. But
take the hat off, dork. Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah, the Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson, baby. Bo Jackson. I may create a custom headset so I can wear this and do the Autumn Windbags. My Bo Jackson helmet. Signed. Add it to the group of stuff. Now, I don't have my headset and mic, so you're probably saying Soto, so you're probably saying something witty, but can't hear it. Nor do I need to hear it because I'm wearing Bo Jackson helmet. I'm acting like it's the one he actually wore in games. Clearly not. It's not even one that like really wears. It's got like a not true inside. But I'm telling you, man, I may watch all the games in this helmet.
That will definitely be something that needs to happen.
I won't be able to see much because it covers my eyes. But it'd so be worth it.
That's a great gift. I knew you were getting that, by the way. I was super salty.
Oh, I'm so stoked on it, man.
I'm
like debating. Do I like encase it in glass and like put it on the mantle or wear it? Like, I'm not going to be like doing drills against, a sled in my backyard. Just like,
listen, man.
Every time Jacob scores a touchdown, boom, put the helmet on.
We have to know our strengths and weaknesses, okay, and our tendencies. Yeah. You're not always the most sober guy watching football, okay? And you got the snacks laying around. You got the freaking chocolates like a freaking reach away from you in their chair that smells like fart. You got to get some freaking shit on that helmet. Just want to let you know that right now.
You don't like it glossy with just shit? I mean, yeah. Should be protected.
I'm not trying to say you talk shit on you or anything, but I mean, you're gonna fuck it up if you keep pulling it out.
People think I love running backs. My crew at SiriusXM years ago got me a Marshawn Lynch signed football for my birthday. I was like, oh, like, thank you. Like, this is very generous. Like, I'll keep it forever, and I love it. But it was like, yeah, Marshawn, played like a season and a half. I was never that high on him. And like, okay, he kind of like came in out of shape and whatever. But all right, cool. He was a Raider. Once a Raider, always a Raider. I'll love, Bo Jackson, obviously the legend. But I guess that's what you do after a 6-win season. You get you start going back. You know what I mean? You get a Howie Long jersey, right? You get a Plunkett jersey, you get a Stabler jersey, you get a Bo Jackson signed helmet. It's kind of season for that. And I guess it's going to be timeless, right? Like, everyone knows Bo Jackson. You're welcome, Tech Mobile. Thank you, Dane, for getting me that helmet for my birthday. Appreciate it.
Yeah, freaking Dane. What a bum. Yeah,
what a bum.
You have to go with the old school guys. I mean, the way that the modern NFL, the way modern sports is, you can never tell if a player is going to stay with the team for their entire career.
Yeah.
So it's like it's better to like wait till after they retire and you can think of the good times, and that's when you get those guys.
You can get the jersey. You can get the when like the career's already solidified. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're with the team 10 years. It's like, okay, even if you go on and leave the team and play 5 years somewhere else, you're still a Raider.
Nope.
Absolutely.
I mean, I get it, but Absolutely. You're not a Raider. You're not a Raider until you retire again. That's when you're a Raider. Once a Raider, always a Raider does not apply when you play for another team. It only applies when you play for the Raiders and then when you retire, when you don't play anymore.
I would disagree. I think once you've solidified yourself on the team, you can get the jersey and you are. You're on loan.
I'm not going to cheer for you if you're not playing for the Raiders.
I can cheer for I could cheer for a player.
Well, go ahead and say who you want to say.
After a long time. I could cheer for any true Raiders as long as we're not playing the Raiders.
You can do whatever you want. But what I'm saying is the true feeling of being a Raider and why it's so special being a Raider fan is because it's Raiders against everybody. Raiders or nothing. If you want to cheer for somebody on another team,
and once you're a true Raider, you're still a true Raider. As long as you're not playing the Raiders. As long as you're not playing the Raiders.
As true Raider.
Were you not rooting for Charles Woodson when he was on the Packers?
I didn't give two shits about Charles Woodson on the Packers.
Well, you're a piece of shit and a bad Raider fan. Charles Woodson is a
gift.
True.
That's not
gift
true
to the Raiders.
Yeah, and then when he came back, fucking all about him.
Yeah,
you're not helping my team any. Then okay, whatever.
He's not hurting us either unless he's playing us.
It's not Charles Woodson versus everybody. It's the Raiders. It's the name on the front, not the name on the back.
And he is a Raider.
Raiders versus everybody. So if you're a part of everybody, then you're versus me, right?
Not if you're not playing the Raiders. It's Raiders versus everybody unless you're out somewhere in the NFC East playing nobody.
You can cheer for whoever you want. What I'm saying is don't be surprised if you catch shit for it.
Don't be surprised if I make you eat shit for it if you don't want to root for like a true lifelong Raider.
Look, I'm not going to root for your fucking fanboy crush, Derek Carr. I know that's what you're talking about.
I just got any fucking guy you can root for as long as you're not playing the Raiders.
The same get out of here, bro. You're so transparent.
You are the only one with Derek Carr on your mind. Remember when you're like, when Derek Carr got traded, you're like, once Derek Carr's traded, once he's gone, I'll never say his name again. I don't bring him up. You bring him up.
No, you brought him up without bringing him up. Like, we're not supposed to like realize.
Because he's on your brain.
No.
Not my brain.
No. What long-term Raider who's been here around 10 years or so who doesn't play for the team now?
Decade's a good number to pick. Great. Yeah. It's a great number. When are you a true Raider then? What's your number?
No, it's not about being a true Raider. You're a Raider when you play a number on it. Oh, perfect. When you're a player for the team, you're a Raider. Now, when you put on another uniform, you're no longer a Raider. You are the enemy now. Now, when you retire,
if you're playing the Raiders, you're the enemy.
No. You're always the enemy because it's Raiders versus everybody. Not
you somehow managed to turn a Bo Jackson helmet into a Derek Carr conversation.
No. You turned it into a no. Look, I'm not going to let you do that.
I turned it into a Derek Carr conversation. Yes,
I turned it. You said everything that is him without
Derek
saying
Carr
his name.
There's 100 Raiders who played for the Raiders for like almost around a decade and then played somewhere else.
It just so happens that this is the first year. Like, dude, it's so transparent, dude. Just stop. If that's not who you were hinting at, stop.
I wasn't hinting at anybody. It is a well-known status of mine.
You need to stop right now. Right now, you need to stop.
You have poisoned your own brain to Derek Carr that he's been gone for months and you still can't get him out of your brain. I have not mentioned his name or brought him up.
No, I'm not going to do that. We're not doing that right now. You're not.
You did it. You brought up Carr, not me.
Okay, so you're telling me that you didn't mean him when you were saying that exact scenario that he's in right now, and you were such a starch backer of his, and you were.
Because you have a distorted view of how I view Derek Carr, and it's distorted your view.
It's very clear. You're lying right now. If you think that little of our listeners and our windbag, you think that little of them that you're going to do such a poor job of disguising what you actually meant. And you want them to believe that.
6 months ago, once Carr's gone, I'll never bring up his name again.
That, RJ,
you are the one poisoned with Derek Carr. Go through your Twitter. Go through what you say. Go through your mentions.
Right
Carr. How often I bring up Carr? Never. I never bring up Carr. Ever.
You don't say his name, but you bring up dude, it's just stop. Just stop. Because we all know what you meant. And it's okay. We all know
what fantasy land. That's why. Because you're like, I can read. I don't listen to what RJ says. I don't listen to his words. I pretend I can imagine what's going on in his brain, and I'm going to go with that instead. Sure, that's what you do.
Sure.
All the time. And that's why you think I'm always talking about Carr, because he's on your mind.
I'm going to do what you did last week. I'm going to ignore everything else, and I'm going to focus on this. You described his exact situation this season.
I described 100
exactly.
Players.
No. You described his exact situation right now, and you're not gonna you know what? I'm not gonna get into it anymore. I'm not gonna justify your.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. I described 100 players, and you thought just one guy because he's on your brain and he's poisoned your mind. You thought of one guy.
My mind.
Carr. He is on your mind. You bring him up. I don't. Fact.
RJ. I'm not sitting at you lie to me and not call it. That's what you meant. Look, root for whoever you want to root for.
I described 100.
I don't care. I didn't root for Tim Brown when he played for the freaking Bucks.
You went right to Carr because he's on your brain.
I don't root for anybody who's not playing for the Raiders. If you want to root for other teams, fine. I'm telling you. You can do whatever you want, but don't say that I'm not a true Raider fan for not rooting for somebody who played for us for 10 years.
I like to see nice things happen to our Raiders, right? Guys that are like, all right, you've put in your time.
He's not a Raider.
You're a Raider for life.
Somebody else.
You're a Raider for life, right? If you're not playing the Raiders, I like to see nice things happen to you.
This is the issue. You're not a Raider if you're not playing for the Raiders. If you're still playing and you're not playing for the Raiders, you're not a Raider. You're somebody else.
How about this? How long does a Raider need to be a Raider for them to be a Raider when they retire? No matter what they do after, right? What's the number?
One game.
Okay.
You play for the Raiders, you're a Raider. But if you play for somebody else, you're not a Raider right now. Once you retire, okay, then we can come back.
That's hard when you've got like Bill Romanowski's of the world that were like the enemy for so long and then spent a short time with the Raiders.
Yeah.
If you're an enemy longer than you were a Raider.
He's always hanging out on with the Raiders, though. He's doing stuff for the Raiders now.
I can't believe you're rooting for a Bronco. I can't. If you want to root for other teams, go ahead, Soto. If you want to root for other teams, because he's a Bronco. You see my point?
Sure. Okay.
Well, one player.
Have you ever heard once a Bronco, always a Bronco? You never heard that before. It's once a Raider, always a Raider. It doesn't apply when you put another team's jersey on. You're not a Raider when you do that.
So it's like a trump card.
Yeah, you're in a bizarre world at that time. You're not it.
It's a trump card. That's what you're saying. Well, one guy where we're not sure, and it's getting less sure by the day, if you'll be a Raider or not, is a question of the day. Where will Josh Jacobs be week 1 of the NFL season? When you've been franchise tagged and drafted by a team, that shouldn't be that hard of a question. That should be a pretty simple question. But it isn't, because things are getting complicated with our boy, Josh Jacobs. Looking at his tweets recently, you can take a quick gander here. You can barely read that. Can I zoom in? Stupid tweet deck. I was torn. I either do tweet deck where I don't have to see all the ads, or I can do Twitter and it's bigger, but it's like half ads. Anyway, he's tweeted 4 times in the last day. One of them, bad business. The other one was a reply. People that don't play will never understand. He retweeted Brian Baldinger, one of those great Baldy breakdowns that he does. Josh Jacobs.
Those are really good, man. Because it's like it's not super in depth. It's very straightforward, and it just gives you a lot of tight, good information.
It's the perfect middle ground. It's the perfect like Twitter length of video because you can get a long, boring, in-depth breakdown, which is fine. Like sometimes I have 30 minutes to sit down and like really dissect a player, right? And then you've got the kind of like shitty Sports Center 15-second soundbite.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of like, like hyperbole and it's just like all, B-roll and just blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of over. And then you got Baldy, which is like, all right, here's like, let me rewind it 4 or 5 times, a couple breakdowns, a lot of excitement, a lot of hyperbole, giving guys nicknames. It's just the perfect like minute-long Twitter video type breakdown.
And that pinky, bro. That pinky's like throwing up its own little gang sign. That thing is going crooked.
And basically his entire Twitter is just him pitching his value as a running back, right? Jim Trotter had his article for The Athletic. That was a terrible article by Trotter, and I love The Athletic. It was just basically like, oh man, like this was the line. The NFL is the only major professional sports league where salaries are tied to position groups, which often means you'll be underpaid despite overproducing. Right at Josh Jacobs, just like begging for a tent, like, hey, like sucking up to Josh Jacobs. It's like, only on Twitter can you have someone like pearl clutching the morality of economics. like, oh, supply and demand is an evil scourge upon the universe, as if it's like some dictator somewhere taking over your village and not math. Imagine pearl clutching over math. That's what we're doing here.
I saw a stat, and don't ask me where I saw it because I forgot where I saw it. But since 2016, there's been 17 running backs who signed their second contract where the average annual value of that contract was at least 4% of the cap. Okay? In those cases, more than 75% of those running backs in the following 3 years, each one of those next 3 years, they did not come close. They did not exceed their production the previous 2 years before that contract. So the team paid them and didn't get as much out of them in the next 3 seasons, each of the next 3 seasons, as they got out of them the previous 2 seasons. More than it's a little bit. I think it's like 76% of the time it didn't happen.
So Josh Jacobs is Mr. Cryptic Tweeter. Like how kids are these days. Goddamn millennials and the cryptic tweets. That's Josh Jacobs. So he never says what he means. He's just kind of passive aggressive about it. But bad business was the tweet that he put out. That's the recent one that came out on the 20th. We're recording this on the 21st, Wednesday. Where will Josh Jacobs be week 1 of the NFL season, Soto?
He'll be with the Raiders.
Okay. You're confident? How confident are you in that? Do you have a percentage?
75%.
Good.
He might hold out. He might just say, I don't want to. Look, he's not going to get a big deal, man. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
First off, it's not. Let's take Ziegler out of this. It's not the way the NFL is going. Right? NFL, freaking what's his name? Adrian Peterson 10 years ago or 11 years ago would have been like one of the top 2 paid running backs in the league now. So the way it's not. He was like
$7 million less than Aaron Rodgers at the time. Like you weren't like running backs weren't that
Aaron
far off.
22 million that year in 2012. He was 22 million. He was the highest paid player. Now it's almost triple that. So it goes to show you that if there's more available and they're available throughout the draft and in undrafted free agents, you can get that. You can make that production up. And I understand what Saquon. It also doesn't help that you have like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs and the fuck's his name from the Cowboys?
Pollard.
You have three top backs that are in basically the same situation.
Mm.
So, look, man, is it personal? No, it's not personal. And the problem is I think, especially Josh Jacobs, and to a certain extent Saquon Barkley a little bit, is trying to make it personal.
Mm.
They're trying to tweeting bad business. Like, why? Why is it bad business? It's actually very good business. It's very good business to hold to your guns and say, look, we have a franchise tag. It's $10 million. You're going to be a top 10 paid running back. Yeah, it's only 1 year, but this is what we're offering. From all reports, there isn't a lot of conversation between Josh Jacobs and the Raiders because there doesn't have to be. I don't want to pay you more money. I don't want to pay this position group a lot of money.
Well, I would disagree that having no conversation is a good thing. I mean, I
didn't say it was a good thing. I said it's not happening.
I would disagree. It's like, it's fine, right? That there's no conversation because you can I'd be fine. I mean, when you add more years, you get less money generally, right? Like he's not going to get a 3-year 30. You know what I mean? You're getting a 1-year 10 currently, right? Mm-hmm. I'd be semi-content with like a 2-year 16, right? Something like that, where it's
who's to say that hasn't already been given and Josh Jacobs just gets up and walks out.
Well, we don't know. But my point is that's why you're at the negotiation table. Is like, all right, what's your answer to this question? Like, I don't think you tell me if you know something I don't. I don't know if Josh Jacobs is like, give me 4 years, 40 million guaranteed, or I'm not showing up. Like, I don't know if he's like, like being like my 3.5-year-old Frankie and saying like, no, like, do we know that's happening? Maybe, certainly possible. I don't know if that's happening or not. So the other curveball to this is things change. You're the best at the position, right? All the economics and I'm not saying this makes Josh Jacobs right. I'm saying it does change things when you're number one, right? Leading rusher. He has more touchdowns in the last few years than Barkley. He is like, his numbers are consistently great, right? He's one of the most consistent, arguably best running back in football. When you're number one, that's when your agent and you make the case, we're the best, we set the current standard in 2023. I think that's what they're thinking because that's what every single agent does, right? If you've got, if you're the next contract up at a position, you want to be the next one, the next big thing. Like, hey, we're number one. We deserve the number one pay, right? That's the case they're currently making, and that's what the Raiders are facing. So I do understand that this is bigger than Pollard, right? And other players. Josh Jacobs is like, I'm number one. I led the league. I need to set a standard. I don't think Josh Jacobs truly wants to set the standard for the position. Like he's a martyr that's, I'm doing this for the other running backs. He's like, no, I'm doing this for me. And that's how, and in fairness to their case, that's how the NFL works. The best guy raises the price each time out. That's the case that Jacobs and his agent are currently making, that the Raiders are facing.
Yeah, and again, you're making it. That's the case of making it personal. It's about me being the best guy. It's not about you. It's about the position. Mm-hmm. It's about where the position is going in the NFL. It's about the last 5-8 years, how that's going and what the trends are. And if you have the numbers in front of you where you don't have to pay running backs big money to win. We just heard what was it, the last 20 years or so? No,
it wasn't that. It was like 13, but it was like
it's more than 10. Let's just say at least 10 years back. The last 10 years, which is what we're talking about with Adrian Peterson and the change in Aaron Rodgers that year and the change in the quarterback pay as opposed to the running back pay. No team paid more than $2 million for a running back and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. No. It was the leading rusher, in fairness, because there were some backups that played the leading rusher. Because I think this stat's important because I think you're like, this case is still correct, but there is a detail to that stat that everyone's throwing around. I think it's important to notice. It was the leading rusher on the team, right? Because you could have like a split, like running back that like catches a lot of passes that was maybe highly paid, but didn't have as much rush yards that kind of get in the mix a little bit, right? But that's still kind of along the point. It's like, well, you're more of a receiver, right? You're more of that kind of threat, right? Than a between the backs running back, which is mostly what Jacobs is. And we're ecstatic that he's become a better and better and better pass catcher out of the backfield every season. Great, like, great thing. But he's still I'm going to get you 5 yards when my line blocked for 2. That guy, right? He's just, I'm going to get the hard yards after 900 yards after contact last season. Like that's how he thrives. And he's not that type of back that's like, well, I'm more of a receiver, so look at me that way. It's like, no, man, you're an awesome running back.
Yeah, I get what he's doing. I understand what he's doing. By him doing what's best for him, he's also doing what's best for other running backs. I understand that.
Yeah.
But the issue is that's not the climate of the NFL right now. Yeah. And I don't know that he's consistently shown being the best back in the league to where it's hands down. Even now, he's not like, oh wow, he's definitely, a top 2-3 running back in the league. Like it's still an argument to be made with what other running backs can do and their versatility. Did he win the rushing title? Yeah, he did. But what did that do for the team? The team was still in the middle of the pack rushing wise. So, I mean, you have to look at it from a couple different perspectives. Okay. Not just what fits a narrative. And of course, yeah, that's what the agents are going to harp on. But I mean, it's not like the people in the front office are like, you know what, agent? Oh my God, I never looked at it that way. You're absolutely right. Let's give them $15 million. It's not going to happen that way because they know better.
Well, that's what
for the media, for the fans.
And that's what I'm saying is like with Saquon, with Pollard, they're not all three the same argument, right? I think they're all in the same way. They're all in the same argument, right? They're all franchise tagged running backs in 2023, and they're in because of the economics, because of math, not because someone's out to get them, because of math. This is their situation. Jacobs of the three is the most unique because he's coming off the leading rushing season, right? And because he's had more touchdowns than Barkley the last few seasons. He is the wild card of the three. And so I think that's adding to these passive aggressive tweets from Josh Jacobs, why it's feeling more personal, why is he's obviously I don't follow like Pollard and Barkley as much as I follow Josh, but I haven't heard nearly as many headlines coming out of those two guys of they're saying this or they're acting this way or they're not at this. It's been Jacobs because he's the number one of those three by, I think, most metrics. And that's why I think it's the most complicated for the Raiders and Jacobs as opposed to the other two.
You also have to take a look at what they mean to the franchise. And I'm not diminishing Josh Jacobs, what he means to the team. But Saquon Barkley is the best player on the Giants team. When he's healthy, he's the best player on their team. Mm-hmm. What would you say JJ's like the third best player? Behind Devontae and Maxx? I think
in 2020.
Don't be fooled by that one season. No.
That's my point. That's my point. I'm saying 2022. After this last season, he can make that case. Consistently,
again, you have to think about it.
Consistently, it's tougher.
You have to think about it, right?
Yeah.
So, I think you would get more arguments putting Josh Jacobs ahead of Maxx and Devontae than if you would put Devontae and Maxx ahead of Josh Jacobs. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's tough, man. It's tough when what you're doing isn't equaling wins. And I'm not saying it's his fault, but you'd be more apt to pay Josh Jacobs if you are on more of a winning team too, because that formula is winning for you. And if it's good, but you're not winning, it's like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, he's good. He's one of the best in the league, but are we winning with him? So, I mean, again,
I would argue we go both ways too.
There's the argument there to be made as well.
I would argue there's another side of the coin you just brought up, because if you're a Super Bowl winning team, you've got a bunch of players that had good seasons. Like it's impossible, right? Like you had a bunch of guys that, did great and all coming to their GM looking like this, right? Like with the Raiders, you've got like anyone who did shit has already been paid. Like no one from last team is not already on contracts. Like, all right, you owe me now. It's just Jacobs, right? So that's kind of the other part of it too. That's there's only one guy going after a bigger chunk of the pie after last season because he's the only one that did shit that wasn't already locked up. But it's complicated. Emotions are involved, and it's. And I think that was my biggest point of taking all this is like I'm still with you, right? I've been saying trade Josh Jacobs for 2 seasons, like because I knew we were going to end up here. I knew we were going to end up here 2 seasons ago. I'm like, let's get what we can. He's awesome. I'm going to miss him. He'll always be a Raider, right? Instead of maybe one day I'll get like a Josh Jacobs signed helmet. You know what I mean? And I'm going to love it. I'm going to wear it on this podcast. But we were going to end up I knew we were going to end up in this situation. I knew it. Where we're going to have to pay him $10 million for 1 year, or we're going to lose him, or he's going to sit out. And we're going to have to trade him for peanuts because we have no leverage. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it.
Yeah, it's a hard situation, man. It's a hard situation. Maybe if we had a younger running back, or a younger quarterback that we didn't pay as much money to, we're able to like give him a couple of years from what he's looking for, but it's just, you have to take a look at the situation. It's not just the player or the position. It's also the situation too. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's a tough situation to be in. And, people are going to do what's best for them. If it's best for them and their narrative to make it personal, then that's what they're going to do. And if it's best for them and their narrative to keep it about business and statistics and numbers and about a team building, environment and actions, yeah, you're going to think about that. But for fans like us to be like, they have to do this, they have to. No, dude, no, they don't. You're being emotional right now, and it's not black and white.
And that I think is the biggest crux of the situation. Is it is an emotional situation. I don't blame Josh Jacobs for being emotional. Like by all accounts and purposes, he's busted his ass to get where he is. He's sacrificed more, gotten more of his body than the two of I have ever than us two have done could possibly do in 10 lifetimes. Right? Like I get it. Like I bust my ass. I want to get paid. Totally understand. It'd be weird if it wasn't emotional. He's like, well, we're just going to sit back and let the nerds and the nerdulator figure out my salary. It's like, no, I get it.
Yeah.
And that's the clash, right? Is when something highly emotional is bashing their head up against economics. That's the clash that we're in right now for fans and Josh.
We'll see, man. We'll see what happens. But honestly, I don't see Josh Jacobs sitting out and costing himself money to prove a point.
Yeah.
Because the Raiders are like, dude, we're offering you $10+ million. Like, you don't want to take that $10+ million. You're going to just walk away from $10+ million. That's their position. They're holding firm. And I don't blame them. I would too.
And also, you're going to say this is me being negative, but this is the reality, whether you like it or not, is Josh Jacobs kind of has the Raiders by the balls a little bit, or the Raiders kind of have Josh Jacobs by the balls a little bit in that nobody is expecting the Raiders to do shit this season. Or it's like, oh man, how are they going to get back to the Super Bowl without their star running back? It's like,
well, yeah, they're definitely not picked to win the Super Bowl or even win the division.
Win anything, right? So it's like, okay, if we win 1 or 2 less games without Josh, no one's expecting us to win them anyway. And that's probably how a GM's going to think about it. So that's the other part of it. It's like, yeah, okay, we'll have Zeus run. We'll see what he's got.
It's just more ammunition to divide the fan base. Because guys, look, when you bring in a new regime, you're gonna find these moments where the old way meets the new way, and
I feel like 90% 90% plus fans are on the side of Raiders. Like whether they're not on the side of Josh McDaniels or Ziegler or Mark Davis, I think they're on the side of Raiders where it's like, dude, just fucking play or don't, like, or get out of here. Like, stop fucking with this. Like, that's been my take. Like, I don't know what you're like, let us know in the comment section too, guys. Like, are there guys, if you're on Josh Jacobs' side, let us know and give us the reason. You know, we're not, you know,
well, the thing is, it's misleading.
Digging our heels in. If there's a really good reason that you think why the Raiders should buckle to Josh Jacobs, please let us know. But at the same time, we got a lot of fucking holes on this team, and that's a lot of money to a position that hasn't shown its value in a long time.
Yeah, and it's a little misleading because most of the people who are like, dude, you don't pay a running back that much money. Just no one does it in the NFL, and it's really difficult to win when you do, especially when you don't have a young quarterback on a rookie contract. So if the people who are thinking in that, they're thinking more rationally already. So it's not like they're going to be like, and jumping on there and like, you guys are all stupid. You shouldn't pay a running back. No, the people that are really emotional, those are the ones who are going to engage. Those are the ones who are going to rant. So we're going to get a lot of that. So it's kind of skewed a little bit. It's not a true measure of how the fans feel.
Question of the day: where will Josh Jacobs be week 1 of the NFL season? Let us know. Comment section. It'll be pinned. Well, we know where Chandler Jones will be. Very, very, very rich and playing on the other side of Maxx Crosby. ESPN did an interview with him. And he said a lot of things. There's the big one that stuck out to me. Well, let's go with a couple of little things first. He talked a lot about his role with the Raiders. He's like, I want to be a mentor. There are some comments from his teammates who love him. Obviously, we've heard nothing but the most positive elements of Chandler Jones from Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. Like, well, maybe he's not getting the stats, but he's doing things that you don't see, and he's freeing other people up, and all the lines that we heard last season. It seems like everyone in that building loves Chandler Jones. And it goes back to my theory that, like, he is a true football guy, true football dude, right? And coaches love that. They love guys that live football, breathe football, smile on their face when it's time for drills, energetic when it's for videos, film sessions. You know what I mean? Like, they love guys like that. And that's Chandler Jones. And I think that's a big reason why he got the contract that he did and why everyone is sunshine and roses around him, despite the fact that he grossly underperformed his contract last season.
I mean, hear him talk about it. He didn't underperform at all.
Well, let's hear what he said. This is the big line that was going around this week. Chandler Jones to Paul Gutierrez of ESPN. Football, especially at this level, statistics are tricky. Very tricky. You can sit there and stare at stats, but at the end of the day, as long as you're grading out well by the coaches and you're doing your job, you might be freeing up other guys as long as you're putting the team first. That's all that matters. Do I want more stats? Of course. Is that my goal? Of course. I would be selling myself short if I didn't, but you can't go chasing them. And I think that really encapsulates what I was talking about. It's like, well, you can look at stats, but the coaches love me. I'm doing my job, and maybe I'm freeing up other people. When that's your case, kind of a rough case.
Well, look, if you're going to make that case, be a defense that's good at something. We were like 19th against the run. We were like 27th against the pass. We were like 28th or something like that in scoring. We were one of the worst teams at turnovers. It's like, okay, you're freeing up the guys to do what? What is your play actually contributing to? Dude, us being a very bad defense?
Who did you free up that had a great season? Like, who did you the one guy that had a good season is on the complete opposite side and has all the focus
he had
on
a good season already. It wasn't like you did it. You did it for him.
If anyone was getting freed up to have a good season, it was you. It was Chandler Jones. When you're the offensive coordinator and the O-line coach getting ready for the Raiders, what are you focused on? Maxx Crosby. What side is he on? Double, triple team him. Double, triple team him. Chandler Jones is on the other side getting freed up. He's the one that got freed up, not the one that was freeing up Mr. Triple Teamed Maxx Crosby, who still led the league in pressures. Like, you're the one that got freed up, not anyone else.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
why I looked at that and I read it and I just sat there and I thought about it a little bit. And I'm like, well, I see what he's trying to say, but there's no branch for him to grasp on as he's falling out of that tree.
Yeah.
Because it's like the team didn't excel in any one area that he would have helped the team excel in. We're not a top team in sacks. We're not a top team against the run. We weren't like one of the top teams in pressures. We weren't, good against the pass. We weren't good getting turnovers. We weren't, what I'm saying? It's like, what are you actually helping the team do with you're doing your job?
If we were like a top 10 defense, then it'd be like, okay, he's the glue that keeps the team together because they all love him. And, it's like, okay, I can, if I squint my eyes, I can see what he's talking about. Right. No. But when everything on the defense was terrible. Everything that was not named MAXX was terrible. Right? Awful. You did not free up anything. If there's one player on that team that should have been able to take advantage of Maxx Crosby, it was you. And you didn't.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I get it. I get what he's trying to say, but when you take a look at the numbers, it doesn't match up.
Well, speaking of MAXX Crosby, is there a brick wall by you right now, Soto?
Uh-oh. No, there isn't. Thank God.
Because after you hear this, you're going to want to run through it head first. Here's Maxx Crosby on Instagram today, just sitting in his car, got a baseball jersey, unbuttoned, no undershirt, showing off the new ink.
So that's it, man.
Just being Max.
Every single day you wake up, you got an opportunity. I can tell you firsthand, when I wasn't working as hard, I wasn't getting what I was getting. 3 years later, I've been consistent. I've not stopped. I'm passionate as ever. I've always had the passion. I always had the mindset, but I didn't have the fucking work and consistency behind it. I've done it for 3 years now, bro. It's changed my whole life. It's changed my kids' lives and their kids' lives. My family's lives, they're all good. Everybody is taken care of. But at the end of the day, all that matters is yourself. If you take care of yourself first, you can do anything in the world. You can give out happiness. You can show love. You can give back to the people you love. Take care of people. Like, that's what it's really about. But you can't do that unless you take care of yourself and you love yourself. I love myself. I'm proud of myself. And I remind myself every single day, even though it's fucking hard. It's never fucking easy, but you got to chase your fucking dreams. Fuck what everyone is talking about. Go do what you got to do. That's it.
I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and work out now.
No, you're not.
No, I'm going to think about it.
Oh, you're going to tell yourself you're going to do it?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell myself. I'm going to tell my wife. If that was my alarm in the morning, dude, I think I would be like 17% more productive with my day.
Listen up, guys. If RJ actually sets an alarm for 4 a.m. and doesn't get up and work out, his wife will literally castrate him.
If I don't get up at 4?
Yeah. If the alarm goes off and you just turn it off and go back to bed, it's like you woke her up for no reason. She's going to kill you.
Well, this is the difference is we have a 3.5-year-old that refuses to sleep. So we're kind of used to it by now. And that's the only thing that does save my ball sack. That's even worse because it does save my ball sack.
Oh,
this is the kind of like empty motivational poster bullshit that I like roll my eyes to normally. But because it comes from Max, it hits different. You know what I mean? Like every one of us has got buddies on social media, mostly chicks, that they're just like, no one believes in me. You got to do it for yourself. Like number one is the only one. And you're like, bitch, you got 3 kids that you never see. Or like, dude, you've been fired 4 times in the last 6 months. Like, don't give me this shit. Like, don't give me your motivational shit. Like, you're not that guy. Yeah. Max says it. You're like, oh, he's right. I could be Maxx Crosby if I just work hard.
I think the thing is it's a motivational speech, but what he's talking about is more like discipline, drive, right? Consistency. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about motivation. Motivation is it's. I mean, we all know motivation is bullshit. because no one feels like doing what they have to do to be successful every single day. A lot of people who are successful don't feel like doing what they need to do to be successful any day, but they know they have to do it, so they get up and they get it done.
Yeah.
And that's what he's talking about more so than anything else. Is that internal drive that gets you going, because there's a lot of times you don't feel like doing it, but you get up and you do it like you love doing it, even though you don't.
Well, every well-disciplined person was triggered in that way at some point, right? Like something got them to be there. And for Maxx, he's like, dude, my kids and kids will never want for anything ever. And it's like,
that's crazy.
That's why I'm up every morning being the hardest working guy I can be in the field of hardworking guys, right? So it's like that trigger right there that gets it going. You would think with like that level of mentality in the room that it would be a little infectious and getting to other people in the defense would be a little better, you know? Like how can we bottle that up from Maxx Crosby and just inject it into the butt cheeks of all the other 52 players on the team? It's like, how can we like can Maxx and make everyone drink it on the Raiders?
So I played, and I also, we trained with someone, and we talked about the warm-ups and beginning and all stuff, and like where we trained, the warm-ups were pretty tough. And there was an older guy that trained with us, and he's like always really like, yeah, let's get this done, yeah, let's do it. And I'm sitting next to him, and we're doing our warm-up, right? And he's like, God, I freaking hate this. But it's like, he doesn't let anyone else see that. He's like pumping himself up like he loves doing it, but he's just like, he looks over, he's like, man, I freaking hate this, man. Yeah. Let's go. Let's get it done. And that's most of the time, the people that you hear jumping around and like, yeah, let's get it done. Let's do extra set. Let's do extra sprints. Let's do this. Let's wake up a little earlier and work out. And they don't like doing that. They know they have to. Mm-hmm. And it's like that little glimpse made me like really shone a light. Like, oh yeah, you're just like us. Like when you go into a fight and like, you throw a leg kick and the other guy checks it. I don't care how much adrenaline you have in your body. That shit fucking hurts. That shit fucking hurts. So but you do it anyway, because that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what the game plan calls for. So it's like you do the stuff that you have to do, and good stuff happens when you do it.
George St. Pierre, for those who watch UFC, like arguably the greatest fighter of all time. Like it's probably John Jones at this point, but he's Mount Rushmore, greatest fighters of all time.
Well, he's up there.
And he said every single fight. This is a dude who didn't lose a round for half a decade and not a fight for a decade, right? Didn't lose a round of fighting for 5 years. He said every single time he was in the back of that arena in the locker room getting to warm up, he said he would wish that the power would go out in the venue so the fight would be canceled and he wouldn't have to fight, because he has so much nerves, so worked up about it, so scared about it, etc. And this is one of the greatest fighters of all time. Like if he thinks that way, all of a sudden I don't feel so bad when I'm shitting my pants when I'm about to fight in some crappy Indian casino in front of 1,200 tweakers, right? Like now it's like, okay, if he feels that way, I should feel.
Best fights, man.
Those are the best, dude. It's like tweakers and their stripper girlfriends, like 909er girlfriends. It's like 87% of my audience, right? When I was fighting local scenes in Southern California. But that's the other part of it is like, when you say things like that, it's less what you say and who it comes from. Like David Goggins isn't that great of a speaker, but you're like, oh, you do like ultra marathons back to back to back without training just to show me how hard you are. I kind of want to listen to what you have to say. Like I want to know what makes you tick. And when Maxx Crosby says it, and that's the other thing too, is like, it's like, that's always been Maxx Crosby's MO. Like there's guys that are insane athletes, super, super high level geniuses, gifted beyond belief. And Maxx, you're not that good at football without being a chunk of all those, but he's always been just like, I'm going to outwork everybody from day one. Like I am just going to outwork every single motherfucker that's in my way. And that's how I'm going to find success. So coming from him for those two reasons, because he is success, and that's always been his formula for success. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. I'm going to put on Bo Jackson's helmet and run through a brick wall.
Can you videotape it, please?
I will. Post-concussion. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it because I'm not Maxx Crosby. I'm going to fall down. We skipped this topic last week, but it's already kind of late. I do want to get to Raider news and what we'll skip it again. Maybe they'll still be around. In Raiders news, I didn't realize this, but Antonio Brown, we talk about like once a Raider, always a Raider. He never actually played, so he's not a Raider.
Yeah, I said he had to play one game.
Never played one game. I don't think he truly practiced once. Really?
Yeah, he practiced because remember he was cussing out freaking Mike Mayock.
He was in the building or he was on the facility, but was it like a real actual practice?
Who the hell knows?
I don't know. Anyway, he's not a Raider. Less of a Raider than anyone could imagine. But he's potentially a first ballot Hall of Famer. Stats wise. First team All-Pro 4 times. And that's the one that matters to you, Soda, right? All-Pro. Seven-time Pro Bowler, all-decade player. Twice he led the league in receptions. Twice he led the league in receiving yards. Once he led in receiving touchdowns. From 2013 to 2018, he never had fewer than 101 catches, 1,284 yards, and 8 touchdowns in any season.
Some good numbers, man.
His 83 touchdown receptions are tied with Calvin Johnson, who's also a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Calvin played fewer years, but yeah, I get it.
His per game average of 84.2 receiving yards is 4th all time behind Justin Jefferson, Julio Jones, and Calvin Johnson. He's the only player with 2 of the top 6 seasons for receptions. 136 in 2015, 129 in 2014.
That goes to show you how good Julio Jones was. His last couple of years have been dog shit, and he's still on top of the list.
He was unstoppable, right? So his eligibility will be 2027, right? The other people that are in that class in 2027. So now there's never been, only one time has there been 3 first ballot Hall of Famers in the same class, right? And we're like, okay, that's never going to happen again. It could be in 2027, and right, Antonio Brown could be 4th, right? So 2027, Rob Gronkowski eligible.
Yeah.
First ballot, right?
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson.
Oh man.
First ballot.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Ooh, that's going to be tough.
They love quarterbacks. Dude, quarterbacks.
I know they do. Quarterbacks
always do.
The thing is you have to be, and look, AD is not clean. He got that thing whooping on his kid, right? And
yeah, but I thought that's so married.
Gronk is more of like a playful thing.
Yeah, he's like your frat party uncle, as opposed to.
Like when he told the Pats that you can't trade me because I retire. That's such a great story.
And then here's another wild card. Richard Sherman. No, definitely no guarantee first ballot, but I think it's a conversation. Is there a conversation there?
Because there's so much other good talent that have, let's say, less of a off the field issue and like an image issue.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see both Steelers getting snubbed the first year because of their off the field, shit.
Can you just imagine Antonio Brown getting inducted in a speech? Like he just whips out his dick in Canton on the podium, calling everyone cracker.
Look, I could tell you that that's impossible. But then I saw him in a public pool in a hotel doing the exact same thing. And I don't think he sees too much of a difference.
That insane motherfucker might be a first ballot Hall of Famer and part of a class, like the first class ever with 4 first ballot Hall of Famers.
Yeah, if I had put my money on, I think maybe some of the off the field stuff, because we're talking about some serious shit here.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is the other part too, is it's serious shit that affected football shit. And football is the NBA. They're like, oh my God, you waved a gun around, 25 game suspension. Cause we're like, we so care about what you do off the court. The NFL of all the major sports leagues cares the least about what you do off the field. Right. But because his shit bled onto the field, I think it's going to hurt him more. I think that's going to hold him back and have him be, second, third, fourth ballot Hall of Famer. One, because the class is so deep and they're like, all right, do we really want Antonio whip your dick out Brown be a part of?
Let's talk about the field. Like, he walked off the field throwing his jersey and his freaking equipment everywhere. Like, walked through the field of play and did that shit. It's like, I mean, you're gonna put him in the Hall of Fame, the first ballot. I think, again, I'm not saying that he will or he won't. What I'm saying is there's a lot of ammunition to not put him in the first year.
It's the off the field, and it's how deep that class is anyway. It was kind of a shittier class. You'd be like, ugh, he's getting in. Because he's that good of a receiver. Like, pure stats, no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
No brainer. Pure stats, no brainer. And how cool would it be from a pure football standpoint to have the quarterback and receiver go in together, right?
It may go in the following year, but an argument can be made to keep them out, both of them.
I'm kind of rooting for him to do it, just to watch, because you know how much I like to watch the world burn.
I
would love to see Antonio Brown, Speedo, bleached hair, getting the person who inducts him is just like a stripper, and then he comes up and gives his speech. It'd be amazing. Ready to do some What Up Windbags?
Yes, sir.
So for the first time in Autumn Windbags history, episode 176, 2.5 years running, we're going to change up What Up Windbags. Because last week, our question of the day got so much attention, had so many great answers, I wanted to come back to it. We asked last week, what's the best comedy of all time? Which film's the best comedy of all time? And y'all threw out some heaters. You guys were slinging the rock. I said Liar, Liar. I forgot what you said.
Not Friday.
Friday. Okay. Here's the list that we got. And this is by no means all of them. But here's the list that we got. Here's a list of movies that were named at least twice. Some were named a ton of times. Blazing Saddles, I think, got the most brought up.
That's a great movie.
It's so.
We can't make it today, but
I think that proves how old our audience is too. That Blazing Saddles was up there so high. You know, what I mean?
Not old experience. Come on,
Tommy Boy.
Good one.
Chris Farley's best work.
Dude, hey, there's a pretty girl down there.
I don't know. I want to notice.
One of the Yankees.
Who's your favorite little rascal? Alfalfa? Or is it Spanky?
Sinner.
Another Jim Carrey classic, Ace Ventura.
It's a good one. Can't go wrong with that.
Friday. I'd say Friday's in a league of its own.
It's good.
Friday's in its own, in its own awesome category. Office Space.
Another good one.
I always thought Office Space was overrated. It's funny. It's good. But like, people put it up on such a high pedestal.
The thing is, I don't know that you've worked in that type of environment before, like a cubicle type environment. And
you know what it is? It just speaks to people so much.
Yeah,
the hell is a cubicle?
And it's just the characters that they have are so like in every office. You're gonna have those characters. You're gonna have a guy. You're this. You're this guy. You're that guy.
It's like Michael Bolton, like the singer. It's like no. It's shitty. It's like, well, that's a pretty cool name. Yeah, it was a cool name. That no talent ass clown started winning Grammys. It's like, well, why don't you change your name to Mike Bolton? Why? He's the one that sucks. He gets all defensive about it.
Not gonna work here anymore. I'd leave.
Caddyshack, classic.
That's a good one.
I think that's another. I think there's there's an entire generation of men that say Caddyshack's number one. Like I think if you go from like people born in like 75 to 85, that might be their number one.
I mean, Caddyshack came out in like 85, or early 80s. So it's like if you were born in like the mid 60s to like the mid 70s, probably you would have been like maybe 10ish, 12ish at least when that came out. Mm-hmm. Then Caddyshack probably a good one for you.
Airplane's
another good one.
Still holds up. Just the most slapsticky, cornbally comedy.
But that's so smart though.
Back to back to back. That more than anything led to my drinking problem. Just pouring Gatorade on his cheek.
I speak jive. Chill, blood.
Van Wilder, awesome.
I thought it was okay.
It's funny and like it's one of the less stupid sex rompy comedies. Like Road Trip and American Pie. Like those are all funny, but there's some really fucking stupid jokes. Van Wilder is in that realm, but I think the least stupid.
Okay.
And every single girl named Naomi has been told 1,000 times. You know what that means? I moan backwards. Everyone. Half Baked. Dave Chappelle. It's so crazy how that wasn't Dave Chappelle's big like coming out party. You're like, it should have been like, oh wow, now you're a superstar. Like he had to have the Chappelle show like a decade later to like really come out. My Cousin Vinny.
That's so good, dude.
It still blows my mind that Marissa Tomei won an Academy Award for a comedy.
Well, blows my mind that Marissa Tomei looks the same as she did back then. She's so freaking hot.
Waiting. I think that goes along with Office Space, that every single person who's like a server, bartender, hostess, manager at a restaurant just can't get enough of that.
Yeah, because I didn't really think it was all that funny, because it's like that. It's like in that same mold where if you haven't worked in the service industry, because we know a lot of people who've worked in the service industry before,
and that's how I got to explain to me. He's like, dude, every character is in every, like there's like the underage jailbait hostess, there's like the pervy older dude who knows the block,
the pervy older
super pervy manager, the chick that's like on the brink of a mental breakdown. He's just like, dude, it's just too
manager who can't handle the freaking pressure. Like it's all that.
Grandma's Boy.
Oh, such a good one.
So funny. Beer Fest and Super Troopers. Both those, I mean, they're almost kind of this
Broken Lizard.
Yeah, the Broken, like the two best Broken Lizard ones. I tell you what, if Aiden O'Connell takes off,
we gotta have
movies might be twice as funny. Scary Movie. I mean, the movie's got to be pretty good to have 17 sequels. You know what I mean?
It's good because it's silly, but it's still funny, and the jokes are still pretty smart.
Super Bad. Great. Classic.
McLovin.
Let me take a look at those Warlocks.
Yeah.
The only one on this list I haven't seen. Freddy Got Fingered.
You haven't seen Freddy Got Fingered?
He's just so stupid to me.
It is. It's really stupid. And again, it's not like a scary movie or like an Airplane that's like silly, but also smartly written. It's not that. It's just silly.
I just hate Tom Green. I just don't find. I have a pretty immature sense of humor, and even I like lift my nose up to Tom Green. It's like, ugh, come on, bro, grow up. That's coming from me, Soto.
Yeah.
New Guy.
Yeah.
I would put that very low on this list, but funny movie. And finally, Don't Be a Menace to South Central Los Angeles while drinking your juice in the hood.
Don't Be a Menace showed up a lot.
Yeah.
And it was good. I thought it was really funny too.
I think just the Wayans brothers, again, I think are kind of overrated, but when they can get their shit right, like White Chicks, I was like,
There were parts that I thought were funny, but for the most part, I'm like,
They have great premises. Like they're like Just the name of the movie. Don't be a menace to South Central Los Angeles while drinking your juice in the hood. Like I want to go see it just by listening to the title. Like how outrageous can this be?
Is Los Angeles, or is it just don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood?
I don't remember.
I don't think there's Los Angeles in there. I'm being
don't
picky.
Be a menace.
It didn't sound. It doesn't sound right.
Oh, Los Angeles.
Is it Los Angeles is in there?
No, no Los Angeles.
Oh, no, Los Angeles. Okay,
Don't be a menace to
That's
South
why
Central.
it sounded weird to me. I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't sound right.
I made the longest movie title ever even longer.
Even longer. Jesus.
All right, that's it for us. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. We're still just kind of waiting on OTAs, waiting on Josh Jacobs, hoping Jimmy G can be healthy, get back to practice. And if you see me with a couple black eyes and some bandage around my head, it's because I ran through a brick wall because I watched the Maxx Crosby video 37 times. On a loop. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.